Hello, I'm from Weka, and I'm going to tell you lots of interesting things about how we're spending our budget. Interesting things about how we're spending our budget.
Perfect.
Interesting things about how we're spending our budget. Interesting things about how we're spending our budget. One. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Tutor Conference. We're doing this very differently this year. It's very, very strange for me not to be stood up in front of 80 plus people talking to you. But I think James has done a great job at making this happen so that we can actually be online, beaming into your living rooms and, hopefully bringing you a really interesting and successful conference this year. So I think everyone knows me, but just in case you don't, I'm just going to introduce who's here on the... We should have a couch for this, but we don't. But think of us like breakfast TV on the couch. I'm Suzanne Beard, Quality Team Leader, and Elke Hein is our Community Learning Manager. So welcome from both of us.
Yeah, good morning, everyone.
So just a few housekeeping rules before we get started. Obviously, the ones that are, you guys that are with us at the moment, well done. You've managed to get into the link, which is fantastic. And just to be aware that if you are sending questions in, you need to log in to YouTube. It's quite an easy thing to do. And Jenny Wilkes will be fielding and sorting those questions for us to answer. So do feel free to ask us some questions. If we can't answer them live here now, we can put them on the Google Drive at a later date. We will be showing some videos and we've got some keynote speakers coming up before 10:30. By now you should all have an email with the schedule of what's happening with the 2 days, and you should have your personal invite to the workshops today and tomorrow. If you don't have those, give me a quick bell at 10:30 and I'll try and sort that out for you. But do check the email account that you use to sign into the tutor conference. When you are in the workshops with our lovely workshop leaders, I'm sure they will give you really clear instructions, but just to be aware of it, there is a lot of background noise, as there is in my house at the moment, because I'm having roof work done. Then do remember to mute your microphone, just so that the flow of the session can go well. And you should also have a link to direct you to the evaluation form, which is a Google form, which you can now do online now. So no need to faff about with pen and paper at the end of the conference tomorrow. So workshop 1 today, 10:45 to 12:45, so you can have a quick break at 10:30. Same times tomorrow, and then you've got a Padlet link for our fun activity, which is tomorrow lunchtime 1 till 2. So we're hoping you can join us for that as well. Okay, and before we get on to giving you some updates, I'm just going to pass over to my colleague Elke.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to start with a big thank you for what you have achieved over the last 5 months. Those have been challenging times for all of us. Both at work, you had to apply new techniques, new pedagogy, new digital skills, so there was a lot of learning taking place. But also we probably all had our personal challenges to go through at this time as well. So thank you very much for your resilience and your hard work. We've managed to recruit almost half the learners we recruit in a normal term, and that's the target we'd set ourselves. So we feel really, really pleased to have reached that, and we've set up a fantastic range of courses that you've developed as online courses, and that's really helped learners a lot during these difficult times, giving them a structure and a lot of support. I'd also like to particularly thank the English and Maths tutors who supported learners through teacher assessment. Again, that was very, very challenging because we heard very late in the year how that would work, and there was an awful lot of work to be done, which I don't want to underestimate. So a big thank you for that as well. Next one. So what is new? In year we've written a curriculum and delivery plan to secure our WECA funding. In that plan we were asked quite a lot of questions, and it gave us the opportunity to review who we target, what we offer, and we have sort of made some changes to our curriculum and also how we target people, and Angela is going to give you a bit more detail on this. But also the process of writing this document facilitated increased joint planning with colleges. There was a big section on partnership work, and it's actually a requirement for providers to work more closely now. And this has resulted in better pathway planning with the local colleges. In the new year, we will offer more employability courses, but we can also offer work placements and traineeships, which are new to us. Next one, please. Okay. As you may gather, during lockdown, it has been very hard to recruit and reach learners. Our developers are not out in the community as they usually are. So we've looked at having some new projects that will bring in a steady flow of learners. What we've got new is a Rough Sleepers project. It's called Move In, Move On, Move Up. And that is for learners. Those are the people who were on the streets in that Bristol Council housed in hotels during lockdown. So we've helped housing partners to get those learners into safe accommodation, and learners will complete a program a bit like the Roof Over My Head, but targeted to their needs, as well as ESOL courses. Then we have working up a new stream of health and social care courses. Those will include work placements and employment support, and most importantly, we will work with lots of employers to the Proud to Care scheme in the council. I don't know whether many of you know the Park View site. It used to be a former office space for the city council. It's in Hartcliffe Hengrove, and this is now temporary accommodation, and another project will be around employability courses in combination with English, Maths, ESOL and ICT. And finally, we have a peer mentoring project, pilot course being developed collaboratively with other agencies for families experiencing child protection. So those are some new streams, and we're looking at developing more so we can keep a steady flow of learners going. So what else is in the pipeline? We have put money for notebooks in the budget, and we're hoping to make these available for learners on loan. James will get on with his task as soon as he's overcome all the technical challenges of this conference. And we're also hoping that all courses will start with a digital induction so that all learners can engage and learn. It's probably sad for all of us, for those learners we've lost due to digital poverty in the lockdown. So we're trying to overcome this barrier for people. So having heard the discussions about schools in the last few weeks, masks or no masks in class, in corridors, you know, the proposal that there might be a rotation of learners, all this will probably be coming up for all of us here in classes. You know, we may have a local lockdown, so all provision needs to be agile, needs to be able to move fluidly between online and face-to-face. We're also developing a bit of a digital skills framework to upskill developers and tutors, so we're looking at further enhancing all the skills we've developed during lockdown. And finally, the RAPA procedures were very complicated during lockdown, and getting pieces of evidence collected on learner achievement. So we're exploring a system called It's Learning. It has an inbuilt ILP, and it also has a bit of a reporting function so managers can see how things are going. And we will be reviewing this for a second time in a couple of weeks. So if you're interested in when we're looking for two tutor representatives, so if you're interested in participating, please send Suzanne an email and we'll take that forward. Next one, please. Okay. And now I'm leading on to Suzanne again, but with a final message to just reassure you that the safety of staff and learners is paramount with all we do. You know, we hope that everyone can feel safe and comfortable in their classes, and we also hope that if there's anything you can improve that, or we can improve that, you let us know that. So yeah, be agile and ready for change as well. So, and back over to Suzanne.
Hi, so I'm just going to talk about the COVID guidelines and processes that we've gone through in a bit more detail. Before that, haven't got any questions coming in yet, Jenny? Or is there a change to how you want questions sent in?
I think if they haven't got a easy way of logging in, then they can always send their questions via email, and Jenny will check those.
Okay, so you can also email your questions in to jennywilkes@bristol.co.uk. Okay?
Bristol.gov.
Bristol.gov, that's what I meant. Okay, so tons and tons of work have gone on in the last 4 months, and it's been a real multi-team approach from Kerry, Business Development Manager, Angela, the development workers, and our own sort of health and safety mini-team to actually work under the council guidelines, but also to bring in constraints and guidelines from other organisations that we work with, but also our community learning specific guidelines so that we can all feel safe working. We've got lots of PPE that Kerry's actually dragged in just this morning. So we've got all of this kind of stuff that you're probably sick to death of looking at from the last few months. We've got visors and we've got masks. Whether you decide to wear them or not in class, we can come on to in a minute. So we've got lots of PPE to divide out between you, and you should have a little kit for the term if you're actually running physical classes. So development workers working very hard with a brand new health and safety venue checklist that's got a whole massive big new chunk of COVID guidelines in there. So looking at things like rooming, looking at ventilation, which seems to be the newest issue, and actually looking at that space management. How many people can I get in this classroom, bearing in mind that we're going for a 1.5 metre distance rather than a 1 metre, which is the government guidelines, and then a 2 metres from the tutor. So we've got a real good challenge there of thinking about how you can still make your lessons active and interesting and participatory, but the big challenge for us tutors is to be standing in one place at the front is going to be interesting. So I'm looking forward to seeing that innovation coming through from everyone on how you're going to do that. Okay. I'm going to show you a group agreement in a minute that we've worked on as a sample agreement of what you might do at induction with your learners, or even pre-induction with support from the development workers. So learners feel equipped, that they know the rules and they feel safe before they even step into the building. So if we could just go to that slide, James.
It's you can't see it, they can.
Ah, brilliant. That's handy. Okay, so this is a sample agreement. If you just give me a minute, I'll get my copy. And we've tried to put this into plain language, but also we don't want to frighten learners. So we've got things like, obviously the most important thing is do not come if you don't feel well. Be mindful when you're travelling around the side. I think most places will ask you to wear a mask, and I think that's really good practice. Learners should have their own masks. They should be used to wearing them on public transport, in shops, so that should not be too difficult for them. And then it's good, good hygiene procedures, making sure you sit where you're supposed to, you don't go wandering around the class. Hopefully your learners will be compliant with that, and it's up to us to kind of reinforce that. And, before we would be very nurturing with learners, making them cups of tea and giving them pens and paper. So that is one thing that learners are going to have to be mega organised and make sure they've got pens and paper. We can have a few spare pens, but once you give that to the learner, they need to wipe it, use it, and then keep it. Yes, we've talked about guidance, and if learners and the tutor feel that they would feel comfortable all wearing masks in class, especially if you're doing a practical subject, then decide that within your group. If you've got someone that's more vulnerable, that might be a better way to go. And then we've got things like, obviously, hygiene measures about coughing and sneezing. There should be a lidded bin in the room. If there's not, we will give you like Ziploc bags to put tissues, or get learners to take them home. So that's the kind of sample agreement that we've got at the moment. Bear in mind, it's a dynamic, ever-changing thing. We had DFE guidelines this morning, and we will have more coming through as well. So be prepared for change. Hopefully for the better, but hopefully this will help everyone feel ready to get back to the new normal, as they call it. And the final thing is, if someone is poorly, we will support them to get home without using public transport, and make sure that they not only get the test, but they feed back to us what the results are, so that if we do need to tell Public Health England, we can. Okay? All right, are we going to a video now, James?
Oh yes, we can go to COVID video.
Okay, so we're going to show you a short COVID video now, and then after that, you're going to hear from Angela Marshall, our curriculum manager.
Hello. Are they seeing what I'm seeing?
Yes, they can see you now.
You need to
Okay.
flip away, don't you?
Sorry about this.
No, you're going backwards.
I'm going
It's
backwards.
the bottom one, yes, confusing.
Well, anyway, while I'm clicking through this, hello, I'm Angela Marshall, the Community Learning Development Manager. And while I'm getting to where I need to be, I just want to remind us, oh, there I am. I just want to remind us about where we were last year. If you remember, we were sat around wondering how our service was going to fit into the new Ofsted guidelines and the new Common Inspection Framework. And we were all worried about intent and implementation and impact. So just a reminder that we found out how we were going to measure up, and we measured up really, really well. And so our curriculum is good, and your implementation of it is good. And I'm hoping that with these little tweaks and all the things that have happened to us over the last 5 months, it'll be even better. So, curriculum update. The intent, who, where, what. The who is the same. Our recruitment and our target learners are the same as they ever were. And this is going to go out after just in case you're not exactly sure who it is that we're aiming at. Like Alka has said, we do have some specific projects. So we've already had some things like Roof Over My Head. We've worked with probation. And sometimes the who in that might be slightly different. But nonetheless, we have specific target audience for our project. And we've got even more projects which will hopefully bring in and help us to contact those people that we're aiming to support. and the locations are the same. So we're still aiming for people who are living in the most deprived parts of Bristol. The range of our offer stays the same. So, we're looking at those engagement courses to raise confidence and aspirations, our citizenship courses, family learning, functional skills in maths, IT, English, and of course employability courses. A little bit of a change of emphasis, however. So we're looking to run fewer accredited functional skills. We're trying to ensure that learners who are at level 1, have passed level 1, get the opportunity to go off to other providers to do their level 2. The reason for that is we want to help you tutors who run those courses not to have such a broad range of skills in front of you. So if we can encourage level 2 learners to go to the college or somewhere else, that will help with the range of skills that you need to be teaching. However, we do anticipate, just in case you functional skills teachers are thinking, oh, we're not going to have so much work, we are anticipating an increase in non-accredited English, Maths and IT, mainly because some people on our accredited skills courses don't really want the accreditation as such. They want to improve their English, Maths and IT for everyday living or to get into work, and that's fine for them. So we'll be looking at doing a few more of those. Our ESOL provision, the topic-based provision that we have at the moment is wonderful for getting people talking and confident in specific situations, like talking to teachers at school or trying to arrange appointments in doctors' surgeries. But we also want to add a more sort of streamed approach so that we get a progression in skills for those people who are really aiming to improve their all-round English and grammar much quicker. So we'll see a little bit more of that over the year. And increase the number of accredited employability courses. If we decrease the functional skills, we're going to increase some of those courses. So our health and social care courses, customer service, we're looking at some horticulture courses as well. One of the biggest changes is we want all our courses to include a digital induction, and that will begin to become clearer as courses begin to take off. It's not only to ensure that we increase digital skills, but it's also to ensure that if we can't teach in classrooms anymore, or once again, then our learners are more able to learn online. So things like how to use things like Zoom or Google Meet, how to set up an email account, how to find work and post work on whatever virtual learning environment we use, and how of course, to stay on safe online. And there's some training videos and online training available for yourselves for that, because we appreciate this has been a really big learning curve for everybody. So if you're going to help learners to do it, we want to make sure that you're really confident in doing that yourselves as well. This hasn't changed. We still are asking tutors to embed some digital skills into your courses that are relevant for the subject that you're teaching. Okay. We want all of you tutors to be really, really confident to set your courses up in a blended way. So we want some face-to-face as and when it's possible, but also some online stuff. Maybe that might be homework to begin with, but to have a sort of a dual element, but also so that you feel confident to move your course online if necessary. So please talk to your development workers. Please talk to Suzanne about any training you think you might need to help you with that. For those of you who are already really quite confident with that, then what we need to do is to make sure that our pedagogy is state of the art. Actually, we know that teaching online, or we know now, we might not have known 5 months ago, teaching online is actually a different kettle of fish to teaching in a classroom. And there may be other skills, other tools that we need to ensure that that learning is learned, that it's embedded, and that learners can build on that to make sound progress. So if you're one of those confident tutors who are happy with the technology, then maybe we can think about improving our pedagogy using all this new kit and our new experience. And hopefully Suzanne will be working with you on that as the year goes on. Impact is the same. You know, we are looking for progression. We want every course to have some sort of progression in it, whether that's into employment or whether it's into volunteering or onto further education. So we want you to be able to find time in your courses to help learners investigate that, the development workers to arrange employer visits or mock interviews, wherever your learners are at, so that there is progression in mind by the end of every course. So I just want to thank you as well for your persistence, your resilience, your patience, and we've said it lots of times in our meetings, we have come so far in such a short amount of time. We wouldn't have wanted it to have happened like this, but let's take advantage of it as we find ourselves in this position. So thank you very much. That's me.
Okay, Jenny, do we have any questions that have come in?
Oh, we've got gesticulations.
I think it's the camera again as well.
All right.
I think what we have to do is take a photo of what this studio looks like, because we've got lights here going at us, microphones, cameras. We've got James Byer, I don't know what you call it, a DJ desk.
Yeah, literally, yeah.
And Jenny at the laptop with headphones in case there's questions coming. This is turned into a proper studio.
It has.
And we have, you probably can't see this, but we have a green screen behind us, so some people had trouble what to wear.
I did. I didn't realise how much green there was in my wardrobe until I had to put some clothes on this morning.
So,
but no hair and makeup. Who was in charge of hair
Yes.
and makeup?
Sorry,
I don't
yeah.
know. Sorely lacking.
yeah, so it's a new experience.
Okay. Okay. So.
Hello.
Hello.
Still rolling.
Sit down, struggling with ready.
Good morning. Hi, Alka.
Good morning. I think we are on camera.
You're on camera, you're live.
We are on camera.
Perfect.
So can I introduce Alison Hurley? Sorry.
Camera
Oh,
control.
Yeah.
Oh,
like the
shall I,
clicker.
thank you very much.
Downwards,
Yeah, I was
downwards.
just looking for your proper job title.
If you click down, you see.
Down.
Down, press more down.
This one here.
I can't see.
There we go.
Anyway,
Perfect.
Alison, yeah, Service Director for Education and Skills. So Alison is Jane's line manager. So over to Alison.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
No problem at all. I had a little watch on the screen next door. It all looks very, very professional. I now have webinar jealousy, so I may need to borrow James as we move forward on this. Morning, everyone. And as Elke said, Alison Hurley, Director for Education and Skills, and I joined the council in September last year. So I'm officially coming to the end of my first year, and it's been an interesting year with SEND inspections and global pandemics. But I do hope this is greeting you all, and you're all well, and sort of getting used to the balance of working at home. And I know there's been a huge amount of effort from the work that you've been doing over the last 6 months. So I did actually want to start with a bit of a thank you, actually. So I asked colleagues prior to this where the thanks need to go, what you've been up to over the last 6 months. There's obviously some huge general thanks to everybody across education and skills in terms of the effort that has been made and the enormous amount of resilience, I think, that colleagues have shown right across every service area. But I particularly wanted to understand, from your perspective, and particularly the kind of tutoring role, what has been specifically positive about the last 6 months in terms of the extra mile that you've gone. And there was an enormous list that came back, so I've just put some bullet points up, really as an aid memoir for me to be able to talk to that. So first of all, the online provision, having to go from face-to-face working to online provision literally overnight, I think was a huge achievement, and thank you for everybody to embracing that way of working. And particularly, you've moved the provision online. Existing courses such as, and I'm going to have to refer to my notes on this, apologies, Roof Over My Head, ESOL, First Aid, all gone online really, really quickly. Developing new courses as well, so not only taking existing courses online, but really identifying where those gaps are in the provision and how you can fill them and what your service users are going to need during this time. So thinking about starting your own business, stress and anxiety management, which I imagine was hugely popular and extremely impactful, the Rough Sleeper programme and Family Learning Fun and Phonics as well. So all those new courses coming up in a really stressful and difficult time for everyone. We then, overcoming digital challenges. When this came through, I recognised some of that and empathised with those of you who find it difficult to move on to online. But you really have worked together to overcome that, either personally or as a service area, thought about how to get the digital equipment and facilities really working for you in a way that you needed to in order to reach your service users. You've also put extra effort into family learning provision during this time as well, and ensuring parents work with their children and developing, again, a number of online resources and posting them on the website. And I understand that those resources have been accessed over 5,000 times, which is incredible in such a short period of time to move to a different way of working and to have such great take-up as well. So thank you for that. All of you have gone out of your way to support the learners in terms of that pastoral support, and also I think protecting our vulnerable learners. So again, really coming back to the core of what we're about and what we're doing, and making sure that those that are most vulnerable are protected through this period. So as a service, you absolutely have gone above and beyond, as I say, both individually and collectively, and you'll see the big thank you there, certainly from me and from all of our colleagues across education and skills in what you have achieved. So I wanted to just start by recognising that achievement and the resilience that you've shown against all the things that would be happening in your personal lives as well, to be able to achieve that, which is great. I've been asked just to spend 10 minutes or so really talking about education and skills and thinking about the strategic development and direction of us as a service directorate, and what we've been looking to achieve over the last 12 months and where we're going forward. I'm hoping that you will have received some information about our service priorities over the coming 12 months, and there's been a lot of work to think about how we can really come together as a service directory, and how we all join up and what areas we're really looking to prioritise and champion as a collective, rather than just lots of individual working going on. So that has absolutely touched across education and skills in its fullest sense over the last few months. This has been put together into a very clear strategy and rationale for how we're working, and there is a vision behind this in terms of those behaviours and how we interact with people and how we communicate as well. So the vision is really articulated into 8 key areas that you see in front of you. So certainly building and nurturing effective partnerships, and you've already demonstrated that, as I say, over those last few months, to think about how you work in partnership with people and how you get the best out of people, particularly through difficult times. But I really want to look at our partnership working across the city and making sure we're absolutely maximising that in the best way that we can, and having that feedback from partners to really inform and shape the work that we're doing. Providing brave leadership. Again, I don't think it matters where you sit or the role that you have in an organisation. For me, everybody leads in different ways, and I think having the ability to lead, create strong leadership, disrupt things that aren't going well, and really set out a new path for us is hugely important. And the reason that's important is because there are some really key priorities that we have to tackle as a city, which I'll come on to in a moment. We've got engaging learners, we've got using data effectively, all of those things that really make sure we're doing the right things at the right time. Communicate clearly, again, making sure there is that transparency of information to our partners, and making sure that we listen as well as direct, if you like. Working with integrity, championing equality, and empowering supporting colleagues. 3 key visions, I think, that we're absolutely going to hold very closely to all of us as we move forward. And all of this was created through the leadership team, and it's come from the ground up in terms of people's feedback as to how they want to work across education and skills. So just in terms of the structure, some of you will have received information or updates about the restructure that happened, I think it's probably about 9 months ago now. And really, it wasn't a huge transformation, but it was really organising our services into some really clear, defined priority areas. And so now education and skills is organised into 4 key pillars. On the left, we've got Learning City. So this is the sort of traditional school improvement, school partnership way of working, but it is really prioritising those with SEND, those who are vulnerable, and making sure that we support schools with those that need it most. So there's been some changes there, and that absolutely is from early years through to post-16. So making sure that we have some key themes that are joined up. Accessible City is focused on special educational needs and disabilities, and this, as you'll know, is a key priority for Bristol. So again, complete reorganisation with that team, repurposing, refocusing, and we obviously had the SEND inspection last year. There is a written statement of action to improve performance in SEND, and again, although it sits with one service area, that priority runs through all of those 4 pillars. Inclusive City. Now, inclusion is another area in Bristol that we need to be better at. So we have a lot of young people out of our system. We have a lot of young people who aren't successful in our mainstream system. So we need to make sure, and that's pre and post-16, we need to make sure that we really, all of our schools and settings, colleges are inclusive, and that we absolutely make sure there is a place for every young person in our system when we support them through to those positive and successful destinations to adulthood. And then finally, the one hopefully you recognise the most at the end there, I've highlighted it to make it stand out, is employment skills and learning. And so this really is about increasing the take-up of apprenticeships, ensuring that young people have positive destinations, that we have the breadth of adult learning that not only supports a great choice across the city, but also supports our vulnerable and those that face the greatest risk as well in terms of opportunities. So this is education and skills, and as I say, we're not working in silos. One of the aims of this new structure is to make sure that we really sort of take the boundaries off each of the service areas, and we look at our collective responsibilities towards key priorities, whether that's those young people that aren't in employment, educational training, whether it's improving life chances for those with special educational needs, whether it's making sure our children in care absolutely are held corporately by all of us through our system and get the best possible outcomes. Doesn't matter which bit you're looking at, there is now that collective ambition and appetite to do that. And then I say finally, let me just check my notes. I think it's the last slide. Yeah. So just by way of roundup, we've obviously got a lot of work, reshaping, rethinking to do on the back of COVID. You know, that really has tested us all through this time in terms of what we're doing it, how we're doing it, and why we're doing it. So there's across the council and in education and skills, there is a COVID recovery work stream. Our one for the People Directorate is called Community and People, and it's looking at what are we anticipating the outcome of COVID to be on our communities, and how do we go about addressing those needs. That piece of work is going to be a bridge through to a lot of the other transformation work that had already started. So some things will pause while we prioritise COVID. We've obviously got equalising skills and employment outcomes is a huge piece of work that was already a priority. That has been exacerbated by COVID. We know that youth unemployment is going to go up. We know that those not in apprenticeships or accessing apprenticeships is going to be really difficult, and we know that those not in employment educational skills is going to increase as well. So that's a huge priority for us over these coming months. I've mentioned the SEND written statement of action, and we have a re-inspection coming up later on next autumn, and that will obviously evaluate our progress in that area. And then finally, the broader education transformation that's happening in Bristol is related to the inclusion work that I mentioned earlier. So making sure that young people in our city have a school place and are supported to stay successfully in that school place. So that was an absolute whistle-stop tour. I've probably run out of my 15 minutes, I often do. I really look forward to working with you on these priorities, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of your webinar, and I understand you've got some group work later on. Yeah, have a good day, and I look forward to meeting you all in person soon when we can.
Well, thank you very much, Alison. It's great to to have you reflect on how well we've done. I think everyone deserves hearing that, because people have worked incredibly hard, but also it's nice to see those priorities. For example, people with learning difficulties, we're looking at traineeships. We're forever evolving in those areas where we can, and any help with partnership arrangements and linking us up are always welcome, and to make it work. So yeah.
And I think you're absolutely right, Elka, and I think it's going to take everybody doing their small bit and their bit in their area that's going to create that collective momentum behind this. And I think it's very easy to sort of work in silo and to think about what's in front of you, but actually we've got to start bringing all of that work up to the surface so we can actually see that collective offer. That's the only way to identify where the gaps are.
Yeah. And that's where it works well, where people come together with common aims and link together. And the other one is young people. We're very interested in that. We already have sort of 10% of our learners are people 19 to 24. So again, that's an area we're very keen to expand into, because we know full-time programs are not accessible to all learners, because even young people come with multiple responsibilities. It's like young carers or young parents, etc. So there's a whole group, or people with health issues.
Absolutely,
so there is a whole group, and we're very keen to help out and to engage those learners.
Fantastic.
So,
yeah, and doing a great job at it as well. So I hope the coming few months, in terms of what you've managed to achieve since all of this has started, and how you then sort of bridge back to whatever that new normal is going to look like. And I think we're going to be in this position. We use the language of recovery. I'm not sure it's a complete recovery. I think it's a sort of move to hopefully reform, both for us and more broadly in society, which would be great.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
No, pleasure, absolute pleasure.
And,
enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, and are we switching over?
We're going to try and go back and stop live now if we can.
Okay, so I'm introducing Matt Hemstock, who's the Senior Relationship Manager for WECA, and Matt is joining us online.
Yeah, so I'm swapping over now.
Hi everybody, can you hear me? Of course. Okay, thank you. Well, first of all, thank you very much for the invitation to today's tutor conference. I know they're always very good events. Bristol City Council lead a large contract for WECA delivering community education, one of the largest contracts that WECA supports. I just want to start off by sort of putting this into context. We have started this academic year changing our approach to adult education in the west of England, whereas previously it was largely dictated by harsh market forces. We've moved to a more planned approach expressed by a curriculum and delivery plan, which for the first time seeks to set out precisely what a provider wishes to deliver and why they wish to deliver it in response to both our strategic priorities and their detailed understanding of local need. And the plan that we received from Bristol Council setting out their plans for community learning in the west of England was by far one of the most detailed and high quality ones that we produced, and that reflects the collective effort of everybody who's engaged in planning, delivering, supporting learners through this. So I want to start off by saying really well done for the efforts that all have made during the past academic year, preparing for this academic year and moving forward into the future. What I have been asked to cover today is really our regional response to the challenges emerging from COVID-19. So what I'll try to do is set out some detail around the structures that we've put in place to support this, some early activities which are already underway, how we're looking to shape government's responses to maximise impact in the WECA area, and finally some things which are more on the horizon and currently under development. So as you will all be well aware, COVID-19 represents the largest challenge we face in many a year, is requiring a very different approach to mechanisms that have been put in place in the past. We have the honour of coordinating the response across a number of organisations across the region, local authorities, colleges, other government departments, training providers, community organisations, and it's our hope that through coordinating that we can maximise the impact that is made collectively and avoid sort of unproductive overlap between various interventions. One of the key things that we've done to support this is establish an economic recovery task force, which is chaired by the Mayor, Tim Bowles, and also includes senior figures from across industry, education, local governments to really advise and shape the development of our recovery plan. If anybody wishes to know about the Economic Recovery Task Force, there's a hyperlink at the on the slide there, which I understand will be shared for the meeting. The role of the Regional Recovery Task Force is fourfold, really. First, they are informing the development of our regional recovery plan. Secondly, they are playing a key role in analysing the impact of the measures announced by national government on businesses and communities, and identifying what gaps are left after that support is in place. What additional resource does the region need? Once that's been identified, we are feeding back to government to make sure that we are shaping the national interventions, whilst also lobbying to make sure that we receive the supports that we need and the resources that we need to help the West of England to recover from the pandemic and also to renew and move forward in an effective way. And it's also got a very important task around public transport and infrastructure. The infrastructure we had before COVID-19 now needs to be reconfigured somewhat to respond to the challenges that we now face. So we've already secured an additional £5 million of investment to kickstart the work of the task force, and that's just the starting point. More resource will be flowing afterwards over time. So very early on in the work that's underway, the task force has identified a number of key priorities for the West of England, which will shape our response to the coronavirus. The first one, unsurprisingly, get residents back to work. So supporting people through training, redeployment to access jobs. This is more about moving people from unemployment into employment, more than getting people back in the workplace who haven't lost their jobs, although that is a key priority of government. But within this plan, the focus is moving people who have lost their jobs or didn't have a job in the first place to secure good employment. We also hope to use the pandemic as an opportunity, really, to support green recovery. We see this as a potentially significant growth area, which can both generate a large number of jobs and help the region to realise many of the environmental ambitions that we have collectively committed to. The third priority, and an extremely important one for WECA, is that we want to strengthen inclusion. We want to support the individuals who are residents within the hardest hit places and communities, and also from groups that traditionally face various disadvantages in the jobs market, in education, and within other contexts. We're very anxious to ensure that those who were perhaps struggling before the virus and have become even further disadvantaged because of the virus aren't left behind, as a larger number of people are seeking support. We want to rebuild businesses, ideally through strengthening innovation trade, encouraging startups. The only way we are going to support economic growth and move people back into work and improve their lives is through creating the opportunities that we will need to do that. And finally, to renew places, to really make sure that all areas of the West of England have the transport, access, infrastructure that they need to prosper and thrive as we move out of the immediate crisis. The Recovery Task Force has grouped our response around 3 key themes: skills and employment, business, infrastructure and place. There isn't going to be sufficient time today to go into detail around all of those, and as I'm specifically employed within the skills and employment sphere, that's the area on which I propose to focus today. But if anybody is interested in more detail, it is there on our website and will be increasingly available as time progresses and our plans become to take shape. So before we address the issue, it's important to understand the issue. And it's fair to say that data is difficult at the moment. We don't potentially have the level of detail that we would ideally need in all areas because it's never been collected before in many cases. But this is very quickly improving, and we're starting to establish quite a good understanding of what the immediate impact of COVID-19 has been within the West of England, and importantly using that to try to establish robust forecasts of how things are likely to develop and therefore where our support is needed. So a key issue for us that we have identified, which isn't at all surprising, at the end of May 2020, which is the most recent data set we have to date, we had 39,045 residents who were unemployed claiming benefits, which is a significant increase, up 2.1% in comparison to January 2020. And we have to bear in mind that May is in the middle of the furlough period. We are quite worried that the number of people who are unemployed is going to increase as furlough ramps down. Now, at the moment, we estimate about 22% of the West of England workforce has been furloughed, majority of whom are in sectors which we suspect will have the greatest incidence of redundancy. So a key priority for us is not just supporting individuals who are already unemployed, but also trying to support business to prevent lots of people from being made redundant in the first place. We are also concerned that COVID-19 could, if not properly addressed, result in widening inequality. So we have historic data from previous recessions, etc. So we are very keen to make sure that they are not further disadvantaged. So, for example, we have 25,700 residents who were unemployed before the pandemic, 32,300 who were economically inactive but wish to move into work. So we need to make sure that the people who are not yet claiming benefits but wish to move into work aren't unduly excluded from the support that we offer. We have also uneven impact. We're very concerned that we have 4.8% of the population of young people were claiming benefits in May, and we have a large number of people who've recently left school or university for whom it's going to be very challenging to move into work in the highly competitive market that we have at the moment. We have almost 8,000 claimants aged over 50 who we know from historical trends struggle to secure employment at a greater rate to their younger colleagues, and this figure has increased by 30% since April. And we also know that there are a number of groups who face particular disadvantage and underrepresentation even before COVID that we will need to support. So very quickly, the government has announced a number of interventions, and WECA's role within this is trying to shape them to secure the maximum impact for the West of England residents, employers and communities. So there's going to be a job retention bonus. Every employee who is furloughed but remains employed by the 31st of January, the employer will receive a bonus of £1,000. A £2 billion kickstart scheme was launched yesterday, which is intended to support the creation of a large number of work experience placements, but placements that are paid at the minimum wage for up to 25 hours per week for 6 months for the 16 to 24-year-olds. We have additional incentives around apprenticeships. A employer taking on a 16 to 25-year-old could already secure a bonus payment of £1,000. That has been increased to £2,000 in response to the pandemic. There's a significant planned expansion of traineeships and sector-based work academies. Nationally, 111 million and 17 million pounds respectively. DWP is recruiting a large number of additional work coaches, so they have 900 million to increase the numbers of people able to do that to 27,000. And there's a similar increase to the National Careers Service, 32 million to increase the number of young people that they can support. WECA already had a number of programs in place that we have done a quick but detailed review of to consider how we may pivot them to better respond to the crisis. So our Future Bright programme, offering one-to-one careers coaching, training and support, has been broadened in eligibility to include residents whose work and income, and/or income actually, has been affected by COVID-19. We've reshaped our Workforce of the Future programme, funded by ourselves and the European Social Fund, to help small and medium-sized enterprises to better develop their workforce and access people who are potentially the workforce of the future, and equip them with the skills that they will need to succeed. We've had a very successful careers hub within the West of England, supporting schools to offer high quality careers advice. We're exploring the possibility of broadening that to create an all-age access hub, which would both deliver careers but also be a route through which residents could access a very broad range of support. And within my particular area, adult education, we've introduced the curriculum and delivery plans, which now provide a deeper understanding of what providers wish to deliver and why they wish to deliver it, and increasing the alignment between what is delivered and our strategic priorities. Interventions which are currently under development and more detail will be available soon. We've already made quite good progress regarding rapid response to redundancy, working with the local authorities. So we're trying to both intervene early to prevent redundancies, if that's at all possible, as that is the preferred option, but also to make sure that individuals who are made redundant are able to quickly access support to helpfully move them back into employment as quickly as possible. We are re-looking at our engagement around apprenticeships, and the plan is to develop a communication strategy to maximise the uptake of apprenticeships and minimise the local underspend which levy providers are facing. We are also investing in mental health in the workplace through the Thriving Work at West project. And finally, we're looking at a number of large infrastructure projects focusing on green skills, construction skills, etc., and really looking at how we can support the local population to secure the jobs which will become available through these schemes. Because one of the shortcomings of the West of England is we have been very good at importing highly skilled people from elsewhere in the country, but not particularly good at upskilling our own population to secure the opportunities that come available. I was going to pause all questions here, but I understand that there's not going to be sufficient time for this because you have to move on to your workshops. But if anybody does have any questions, our contact details are on the slide, so feel free to email us and we'll make sure that we get a response out. And I suspect if we share our responses with Elka and the team, they'll be able to distribute them across across all the attendees on our behalf. So thank you very much for your time, and I hope that was helpful.
Thank you very much, Matt. That was really great and very helpful. We just wanted to answer a couple of questions that have come in the meantime. One was around kit. We're hoping to get a sizable number of tablets, and they actually come with a data package. Do talk to us about the needs, and we will see what we can do.
And I've got a question from the LSAs. We're very interested in looking at how all of you can support the learners to get online and to kind of get that digital competence, really. So I'll be arranging a Zoom meeting with you all sometime next week to suit you, so we can talk that through, see what gaps you've got, so we can get you, really, really competent, so that you can go and support development workers and tutors to get that really valuable support for learners. So yeah, thank you. Good question. Okay, so we are really nearly ready for your short break. The workshop leaders should be opening the rooms from about now to start at 10:45. So go and have a well-earned break after all that talking. Get yourself a coffee or whatever you need, and be ready for 10:45 to carry on with your workshops. Workshops tomorrow are at the same time as well. If you're not sure where you're supposed to be or anything, just drop me an email or phone LCT. They've got the details of all the workshop logins, but you should have all had emails from me this week. Finally, we're hoping that some of you can join us for what we're loosely calling it a scavenger hunt, but it's more about collecting feedback from you, and we're using the platform of Padlet for this, which is a nice old friendly, tried and tested sort of visual wall. So we've got 3 key questions, and it'd be really nice for you to all not just add your comments, but also look and share your opinions and maybe be inspired by what other people have said. So all of the questions that we've taken today, the PowerPoints, information leaflets, all those kind of things will be updated and put into Google Drive, and you'll get an invite for that probably Friday afternoon now, so you'll be able to go in and access all of those resources. So before I finish, I'd just like to give a massive thank you to James Bruton. Do you want to just come out here for a moment?
I'm not dressed properly.
He's very scruffy, so do Mrs. Attire, who's
I'm
worked
not 2
tirelessly
metres.
all week to I feel like I'm on this morning, and I'm waiting for Philip Schofield to walk in any minute. So massive thank you to James. Also, we've got Jenny in the corner, who's reminded me of Susie Dent off Countdown, who's been endlessly chugging away there.
Yes.
Yeah.
There we go.
Jenny, give us a wave.
There we go, hang on.
She's looking very professional over there.
She's in the
No
zone.
waving from Jenny.
She's far too busy to correspond with us. And thank you to you for...
I'm on the
Absolutely.
delay.
Yeah, you're on the delay. Thanks to everyone for your time and attention for the first hour this morning, and enjoy the conference. I really look forward to hearing and reading your evaluation responses. So thank you.
Thank you very much, and we'll post some pictures of our studio here for everyone's amusement. So thank you very much, and enjoy today and tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Right.